Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Walt Bratton. I want to thank you for coming out on this beautiful summer morning. Let me tell you about Dr. Edwards. He was born in Jamaica, raised in the Bahamas, attended and graduated from Queens College in Nassau. He was then awarded a full academic scholarship at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, where he earned 2 degrees, one in psychology, one in biology, with a minor in music, the piano. He was also very active in sports for his country and his college. After that, he was awarded a full academic scholarship to the University of the West Indies Medical School, which is a branch of the University of London Medical School. Now, in the British system, you go 5 years to earn your doctorates, and you earn an MBBS, and Dr. Edwards earned a doctorate in general medicine and a doctorate in general surgery. About 3 years ago, Dr. Edwards moved to California to live with his family up in the Bay Area. He has been working as a pro bono educator for the Healthy Oakland Clinic in Oakland, California, where he oversees programs in several categories such as diabetes, high blood pressure, fibromyalgia, heart disease, stroke, Parkinson's, and so on. There he tracks the progress of patients who are using minerals and mangosteen in their daily regimen. Now, while Dr. Edwards is licensed in several countries under the British system, he's also currently working towards his doctorate in the state of California. Dr. Edwards is recognized worldwide as an expert on the power of mangosteen and minerals. Folks, put your hands together and welcome Dr. John Edwards.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Dr. Edwards, John Edwards, but I'm not running for president, at least not yet. They say that the fear of public speaking is right up there with just about any major fear that you can have. One way to get around that, and I've been told that this is one way you can practice to become a better speaker, is to attempt to put marbles into your mouth as you continue to speak, and then one by one try to remove them. When you've lost all your marbles, then you'll make a good public speaker. A lot of people don't like speaking. I happen to like it. I come from a family, as you heard, my father's a pastor. So as you can well imagine, as a pastor's son, I spent a lot of time in front of the church, reading lessons, getting involved in Sunday school. It got me up in front of people early, and I thank God for that now, looking back in retrospect. I'm a physician. I trained in the British system, University of London, University of the West Indies. And I also come with a background with some of my training from the United States. Morehouse College, the alma mater of Martin Luther King, laid a very solid foundation there for me that I, in retrospect and looking back, realized how much it was going to be indispensable when I reached the medical school in the British system. Very thrilled to be here, always excited to share on this wonderful product and to talk about mangosteen and minerals, because we're here today because of something wonderful that has floated into our backyards that I think more of us need to be aware of and take advantage of in this, the wellness industry and wellness boom that has taken the US by storm. Very proud to be associated with this company, with the leadership that you have, and all the others that are involved in making this wonderful opportunity, which it is. We would like for you to seize that opportunity today and to hopefully lift your belief levels a little more from the medical standpoint as we get to see this product at work on a day-to-day basis at a clinic where I work in Healthy Oakland. We've been very fortunate to follow quite a few patients. We've been giving out large numbers of product to quite a few patients there and following them serially over a period of time. We're going to be reporting to you more on that as we follow these individuals. And we're going to share some of that today with you, what we've seen it do, what it's capable of doing. And we also want to give you a little bit more background on the history of the plant and also on the minerals which have been married in this wonderful combination and that has allowed us to see the type of health benefits that we're seeing from the patients and from the families that are witnessing turnarounds as well. So I really want to start with that. This is a wonderful plant. The Latin name for this plant is Garcinia mangostana. This fruit, the mangosteen, comes from the Southeast Asian basin. It is a very potent plant, has over 43 xanthones, Xanthones, xanthones. These molecules are powerhouse antioxidants, that's what they are. So they mop up free radicals in the body. Once you get them into the system, and thank God they had the wisdom to put it into a liquid form, so the assimilation is very high, the bioavailability is easy, you can get it into the system, it can cross the lipid membranes and be absorbed very rapidly because of the delivery system that this company has chosen. Very, very important. Liquid, as you can imagine, when you put something in liquid form, is the fastest and the most rapid absorption form possible. And so you're taking advantage of that. Had it been a capsule, powder, or a tablet, lots of problems would occur where this is concerned. Your body is a sponge. It literally can absorb material. When it's in liquid form, you can just picture that sponge soaking up water. Same type of concept. Once it gets in, it can literally be absorbed into just about every major organ system that exists within the human body. The human body is a powerful thing, an amazing, quite exquisite design. What you put into it determines what comes out of it. And so it's very important when you look at health and wellness that you understand the premise and the basis for health, which is the body is amazing, it can do wonderful things once you put the correct and raw organic material into it. And we found that with this mangosteen, and when you add minerals to that, this is a wonderful marriage for the two that allows the body to perform at a maximum optimum level. And that's what wellness is all about. Wellness is about prevention. Wellness is about taking health upstream before we get into problems and symptoms and major illness downstream. So we want to shift America to a new level. We want to take American consciousness and the population at large to a new conscious level. We need a paradigm shift in America away from sickness and symptoms and over to prevention and wellness. And that era is here. We're a part of that. We know that you're here because you understand that and you put a premium on that. And we want you to be comfortable and knowledgeable in knowing that what you're bringing to the market is valuable and that it's going to touch lives, touch people, and change them in areas where there's non-negotiable issues. And health is one of them. Health is a non-negotiable area. People want results. People don't want to be sick. They want to prevent illness, and they definitely don't want to spend their life's earnings on medical bills down the road when it comes time for them to retire. And that should be your mindset when you look at this. It's a powerful business opportunity on top of that, simply because of what it is able to do in the body. But the mangosteen comes to us with a 400-year history. It began 1673. Laurentius Garcin was the first physician to chronicle its use. We see that from that time period until now, many nations have studied it extensively. The Indian systems use it as a part of Ayurvedic medicine. For 2,000 plus years, it was known to them, used by the Buddhist priests in that group. And it's a strong part of Ayurvedic medicine to this day, well recognized in the world now for their contributions to wholeness and holistic health. And the mangosteen is well studied there. Madras in India in particular, in the Ayurvedic branch, is very lucrative in the studies where this particular fruit is concerned. If you look on PubMed, the national libraries in this country, www.pubmed.com, you will see that a large number of the studies on this plant come from Madras in India, having been well versed with this plant and knowing it for several hundred years. On top of that, we see that the Malaysian basin, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the rainforest belt, Brazil, the French islands of the Caribbean, Guadeloupe and Martinique, it's well known there as a tonic, eau de Creole. They've used it for a long time for energy type challenges, even before these companies that we now see it in this form existed. So we have a long history, 400 years plus, and a lot of folklore behind this wonderful plant. We want to welcome you to the Queen of Fruits and the King of Opportunity. That's what we have. Queen of Fruits, King of Opportunity. We're really excited about that because you have a very powerful fruit. Queen Victoria offered knighthood to anybody who could bring this fruit to her on a continuous basis. That's how impressed she was with the fruit. Malaysia and Thailand have made it their national fruit. The most prized fruit there is very expensive. It's the most expensive on the market. It only harvests twice a year, very unique, grows on some trees 75 feet tall into the air. Again, only found twice a year. So it's very special and unique, and that's what we want to present. And that's why you're very fortunate to be associated with a company that can now make this a household entity. This plant, after many attempts to horticulture it to make sure we didn't run out with the world demand facing us currently, we've seen various increases in the supplies worldwide, and what we're also seeing here now in the United States is an increased demand for mangosteen as more and more people get results and are seeing changes at the lab level. And I want to point that out. We're seeing changes at the clinic at the laboratory levels, meaning not placebo, not I think I feel better, but labs. When we draw your blood and we look at the pictures, we're seeing improvements in the blood work, and we're seeing improvements in the lipid and markers, what we call markers, biomedical markers in medicine. Folks, that's why I'm here. I was excited about that. Many things are touted, but they very seldom live up to the billing. When you check them out, when you do the blood work, when you look for changes, you can't see anything from a laboratory standpoint. That is not the case for mangosteen. And when you add minerals to that, it's very powerful, because now you have the combination of the minerals that many of us are depleted in, especially extremes of the population, the youth and the elderly. This group in particular suffer from mineral depletion. The elderly, because of years of use and being worn down, etc., tend to suffer at that point and need these supplements more so than other groups. Infants, because they're not fully developed and they don't have the fully developed immune system, also are bombarded with large amounts of challenges, and it's very important that we get our kids and our youth on these types of supplements immediately. This is very important. Those two groups in particular will do very well with this product. The other thing we want to point out is that we see something phenomenal from a health arena where you can do what you're doing pretty much right now with your doctor. I want to make this very clear. I want to put a disclaimer right out front. This is not an attempt to diagnose and treat or cure any disease. What we're saying with this is you're simply going to take this and you're going to add it on to whatever you're doing right now with your doctor. You're not going to stop what you're doing. This is an adjunct. This is something that you can tailor on to the back of what you're doing, piggyback onto what you're doing with your doctor. Go back and use your doctor as a barometer. You're going to let him follow your labs, see what improvements are occurring for you over a period of time serially as you continue to monitor your lab parameters. That's how we use it in the clinic, and it's very, very impressive. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say that in some cases, it is putting the prescriptions to shame. And that's a bold statement to make. But in some areas of medicine where you know we have challenges, we're seeing turnarounds in some of these patients at Healthy Oakland Clinic that pale in comparison in some categories. And I'm going to talk about that. That's what's exciting. That's what you have your hands on. That's what we want you to share and spread with this message. Whoever's got you this CD or DVD or whoever's got this and put this into your hands, they care for you, they love you, they want you to hear the message, and they want you to become a part of something bigger than yourself. And that's what the health message is all about. We see from 1673 to current date that mangosteen has an ability, because of these xanthones, to come into the human body and to touch just about every major organ system. 3 molecules in particular out of the 43 are very powerful and have been studied extensively. Alpha mangosteen, gamma mangosteen, and garcinone E. I'm going to repeat that. Alpha mangosteen, gamma mangosteen, and garcinone E. These 3 xanthones out of the 43 have received the bulk of the research in Madras in India, as I mentioned earlier, and also in just about all of the Southeast Asian basin, where large numbers of research has been done on this fruit. Extensive research, very impressive research. Independent research, has nothing to do with our company. Independent, coming from multiple sources and multiple countries, Korea, China, India, Japan, well-recognized scientific communities, Germany in particular. Very well known, the Germans are well known for their ability to pay attention to details and precision. The automobile industry, just about everything they do. They've done a lot of work on this particular plant as well. So we're really looking at something solid. You're not a guinea pig with this. And when I looked at the research and I spent 3 months reading it all up, 14,000 papers on the mangosteen. 14,000. You can read forever on this thing. It was an education for me. And I want to turn on a lot of doctors and health practitioners and people in the health field to this, because a lot of things have been touted out there and very few of them have this type of research from independent labs all around the world to back it up. And it's on the national libraries, it's on PubMed, you can look it up, refer them, it's on Medline, doctors know what that is. You can go on there and look at this stuff for yourself. Perth in Australia did a lot of studies on this in the hospital setting, very impressive. We even have our own centers now that we've seen the mangosteen for 3 years here in the United States. Tufts University in Boston done extensive research on this plant, continuing to do a lot of work. The Johns Hopkins newsletter recently in the last 3 months put out a new bulletin on this particular plant. They're impressed with it. If Hopkins is impressed with it, I don't know why we aren't. Honestly, when you look at the challenges that we face here in the United States, we continue to see top centers endorsing it and trying to get individuals to take a serious look at it because they've seen cases. Patients are walking into these top centers and noticing changes, and they're seeing it in the labs, and these centers are getting behind this wellness boom, this mangosteen craze. So you're a part of that. We really want to point that out. So what we see is that garcinone E, which has been shown to be very effective in the cancer arena, we're not going to dwell on that too much, but this is an area we're facing challenges currently. It will behoove us to pay attention to anything at all that can help us in an arena where we're losing thousands of lives every year. When we look at alpha and gamma mangosteen, they seem to play a major role in inflammation. Inflammation is a big deal. Big deal, big business. Billions of dollars are spent in pharmaceutical companies. The average pharmaceutical company spends $100 billion on average to get a pill to market. That's a very expensive investment before you even know if you're going to make it out there. And you got to compete. And as you know, they want their return on investment like any other business. And so we have a lot of politics now in the arena that have affected the prescription and drug business. When you invest $100 million, you better believe you want some of that back. And so that's a pressure that's out there that's created some problems. And a lot of people are suffering as an attempt at these companies trying to stay alive out there. This is vicious. The medical arena has its own politics, is what I'm trying to say. And so we want to turn the public on to wellness and prevention as opposed to sickness and symptoms. And that is the message. So what we're looking at when we get people on supplements like this, when you get them on the minerals and you marry that with the mangosteen, is a powerful ability to prevent illness in the first place and to slow down and retard deleterious processes in the body before they get to that stage where you're running to the doctor. Here in America, we have a very, very poor outlook on health in the sense that our expectations on the Western model is that 1, we get a symptom, 2, we run to a doctor, and 3, we expect a miraculous pill from Pfizer and Merck to turn around a 40-year disease process overnight. It's unrealistic. I'll be the first doctor to point it out. It's an unrealistic expectation. We live in an instant gratification society. We want to push a button and get an answer. And people have been popping pills left and right. And as you all know, this has been a major challenge that we face. So it's a bit unrealistic to have a 40-year process of diabetes or hypertension or MS or lupus, run to a clinic and expect that 2 tablets from Pfizer and Merck are going to fix the problem overnight. And that is why we need a paradigm shift in America. And that is why we need to embrace the wellness boom, and we need to get more Americans on that wave so that they are ahead of the curve, on the front of the 8 ball, and that they are playing an active role in proactive health as opposed to reactive health and symptoms later. What is the database? What is the areas that allow us to look at the papers and we take this thing seriously? Because I'm going to share with you the journals that show this information. The New England Journal, top journal in the country. Biochemical Pharmacology, I'm just going to give you a list of some of these sources where you can find this information. Free Radical Research, the Journal of Enzyme Inhibition, Environmental Health Perspectives, Planta Medica, the Journal of Natural Products, the European Journal of Pharmacology, well known in Germany, very highly touted, and Phytochemistry, just to name a few. These are some of the top journals where this particular plant has been studied extensively. I mentioned to you garcinone E, gamma mangosteen, and alpha mangosteen. These 3 have led the forefront of the research, but as you can well imagine, with 43 xanthones in the fruit, we have a lot of homework left to be done. 6 to 8 of those xanthones have been studied extensively, with those 3 taking the bulk of the focus. But what we see is that inflammation, alpha mangosteen in particular, is a very powerful antioxidant. Gamma mangosteen seems to be able to block the COX-2 enzyme in inflammation. This is huge. This is a big deal. Pharmaceutical companies, just about all of them in the inflammation arena, attempt to block the inflammation pathway and the pain pathway by blocking COX-2. This is an enzyme that mediates pain. Once you can inhibit it, pain and inflammation are dampened and those responses do not occur. A good drug, if it is very successful, will block the COX-2 enzyme selectively, leave the COX-1 enzyme intact so that you can have protection against platelets, kidneys, kidney damage, and other challenges. And this is a major issue with these drugs, and that's why a lot of them have side effects that have killed large numbers of Americans, as you all may have heard about. A lot of litigation where this is concerned. Here is something safe and natural that blocks the same enzyme, COX-2, and does it without side effects. That is huge. That's a home run by itself. The research for that by Nakatani and group from Japan, very impressive. It is perhaps the most impressive paper that I've seen of all of the 14,000. Like I said, you can read all day on this. They basically showed that this is capable of blocking the COX-2 enzyme and leaving COX-1 intact, and is also therefore possible to block pain and inflammation, which is a big arena in health here in this country. Billions of Americans every year, over $40 billion are spent every year in America on pain, over-the-counter medications, prescriptions. This is huge, huge business. And people will not negotiate and will not compromise where pain is concerned. Can you imagine being in pain 24 hours a day without relief, in spite of everything you're taking, in spite of every drug you've tried, no matter how strong, opioids included, with side effects, hallucination, and all the other side effects that come with that, and still being riddled with pain. Just imagine that for 2 minutes, what that's like. And many people live in that arena, and they're looking for answers. And you have your hands on something that is natural, safe, efficacious, and able to help. Surprisingly, it surprised us at the clinic, the types of relief that we saw in pain. And I'm going to talk on that right now. We saw some patients with chronic pain issues that had gone to top centers, that had even gone to pain management centers, that could not get relief. We put a simple fruit in front of them for 2 weeks, and their problems went away. That is huge. You cannot put a price tag on that. It shocked us. It shocked us, and it has continued to shock us, and we've continued to see this response across the boards. Doesn't matter what ethnic group, doesn't matter what age, what race, it made no difference. It was empirical, it was universal. That's exciting. We want the American public to be aware of the power of mangosteen and minerals and what is possible once individuals get it into their mouth. It shocked us. It shocked the doctors there. And we're not talking about pain that you could ignore. Some of these patients had been, like I said, spent top dollars in pain centers and couldn't get relief. So we're excited about that. The other things we saw that excited us were the average 30 to 40 point drops in cholesterol that we saw in this. Average, 2 to 3 weeks. Just about every patient in the clinic, 2 to 3 weeks, average, giving you the average what we saw, 30 point drops in cholesterol. That's huge. We have drugs that are designed specifically for these challenges that aren't delivering those kinds of numbers. Okay, when you add this on to your prescription drugs for cholesterol, you're going to add this on and you're going to see a precipitous fall in that parameter if you're taking enough of it. Some of you are not getting enough of it. Some people are only taking small amounts for financial challenges, and we want to encourage you to increase your dose if you're not seeing a response. That's something we really push in the clinic because we're trying to get people away from this poverty mentality, the scarcity mentality. We want to shift people to an abundance mentality and a prevention type mode. Once people realize the value of health and the premium of health, it makes sense to spend a few dollars to supplement right now as opposed to waiting downstream and spending your entire income on hospital bills and all the other charges that come downstream. So it's all about priority and seeing the value of staying healthy and spending small amounts of money up front as opposed to large chunks later on in your life. That's the message. So we saw that. We also saw changes in inflammation, as I mentioned, and pain. We saw some issues with neurodegenerative diseases. This shocked us. MS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ADD. Diseases like this. We had no expectation in this arena. Phenomenal responses. Okay? Autism. Autism. Children with autism need to be looking at mangosteen and minerals. Impressive. Recognition of family members, bonding, eye contact, things you just don't see in autistic kids. We're seeing with this. And we're seeing some of those things within as little as a month to 2 months. Phenomenal. There is something amazing about the mangosteen that we're only now tapping onto. We don't even have the mechanisms. We don't know how it's doing it, but we see these changes in the infants. And the parents are running back to the clinic reporting these changes. Noticeable changes. Families are noticing it. Alzheimer's patients that can't remember their address, don't know where they live, patients and family members are noticing changes in their ability to remember things and to function individually, activities of daily living improvements, taking care of themselves, bedding, things they just couldn't manage before they're seeming to be able to improve with once this is on board consistently. That's huge. That's priceless. Very impressive. So we want to touch that area for you. If you're suffering in those areas, you know people in those areas, get the mangosteen in front of them, get this message in front of them. It's very important. These are areas where we're challenged medically. We don't have answers. If we had the answers, we wouldn't stand here before you. So we're looking for anything in any form that can help us in these arenas where we're weak. As you know, in Western medicine, we have very strong areas. There are areas where we're tops. Trauma and emergency medicine, we're experts. This is the best country on earth to get shot in, the United States. Quickest response, best doctors, best equipment, best technology. So if you want to get shot, get it done right here in the US. You don't want to get it done in the Bahamas, because down there it might be just me on the ward for the night, and if 2 or 3 people get shot that night, you're going to have to wait. So the point I'm making is, there are areas where we're great, and trauma and emergency medicine is our strength. That's why we even have ER and all these shows touting it, because we're good at it. But you don't see too many shows on the areas where we're weak. And there's some areas in medicine where we're ranked 72nd in the world, in spite of our advancements and the top billings that we have in many other areas. Infectious disease is one of them. Cancer is another one. So we cannot frown at anything in any form that can come into this country and help us in the areas where our rankings are not so hot, according to the World Health Organization. I'm really excited about that because I think this thing has the ability to be a major player in those weak areas that we don't have answers for. Chronic illness, chronic health, diabetes, hypertension, and things of this nature. Diabetes and hypertension I want to touch on because these are major challenges that face the United States. We're seeing phenomenal turnarounds in the clinic with this, where the xanthones are concerned. 2 of the xanthones in particular seem to be very effective. I mentioned alpha mangosteen and gamma mangosteen. These 2 together, when combined, have a synergistic effect. Synergy is a process whereby 1 or 2 things come together to have a combined effect greater than any one by itself. We see a lot of synergy with the 43 xanthones. They're able to combine in different forms and therefore hit just about every major organ system in the body. People have a problem with this. They want to know, how could one fruit touch so many diseases? How is it possible that one drink can touch that many things? And I want to cover that right now. The premise is that there are 43 xanthones. Each xanthone has a unique side group, what we call an R group in chemistry. Every time you alter that R group or side chain, the molecule behaves differently and is attracted to different challenges medically. I want to repeat that. This is the premise. If you get this, you're going to understand the fruit. Each time you change the side chain on the molecule, it's like a jigsaw puzzle piece that has a unique identity on the end, what we call an R group, an OH3, a CH3. Those of you who had a little chemistry, an H group, little changes. But each time that little change occurs on the same parent structure, you get a different function. In other words, 2 or 3 of those xanthones may be attracted to diabetes. Another one with a different side chain will be attracted to hypertension. Another one with a different side chain may be attracted to MS and have implications there, and on down the line. Gout, chronic diseases, etc. Cancer, whatever the case may be. Garcinone E. Garcinone E, very potent. We saw in one paper, it beat out the top 5 chemotherapy drugs in the country in stopping cancer cells in the petri dish in vitro. That is impressive. And when we don't have an answer for cancer, unless you have it in your back pocket, we can't seem to find it. Until we find it, we need to be looking at anything in any form that can come into this country and help us in those areas where we're weak. That really impressed me. It is very, very well known fact. You can look it up on PubMed, on Medline. Those papers are there. I don't want to get heavy into cancer, but that should excite everybody in the room. All of you know somebody or can think of a loved one or somebody that would love to have some help in these areas. And as you know, chemo and radiation have their own challenges. Chemotherapy shoots everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah, we hit you with it, and we come into the room and we spray the room. You all know this. What we encourage you to do is to take something like this, a xanthone, for example, that can be likened onto a sniper's bullet. It has a unique ability to come in and selectively knock out some of the cancer cells because they multiply and replicate at a faster rate than normal tissue. That attracts the molecule, and that allows the molecule to be selectively honed into those particular cells that are replicating at a faster rate than the others. Folks, that's a home run. Indirectly, the molecule is quote-unquote smart. It has an intelligence quotient, if you can imagine that. And so what we're saying is, instead of coming into this room, if this room was my stomach, and spraying every cell in the stomach in the hope of getting the bulk of the tumor, we can give you something to drink that seems to have a selective ability to hone in on those cells that are replicating very fast and leave the other ones alone. Folks, where cancer is concerned, that is a home run. And that's the type of things that we're seeing with this as we learn more and more about these molecules and what they're capable of. That is huge. Now, I don't know about you, but if I had to gamble, I would rather take that sniper's bullet as opposed to taking a machine gun spray. And right now, with chemotherapy, that's about what we hope to do. We hit you with everything we have in the hope of capturing the bulk of the tumor, and many times we take out a lot of the good guys as well. That's the challenge we're at. That's where we're at in medicine right now, where cancer is concerned. So that's huge. The other thing we want to really get excited about were some of the patients that we saw changes in prostate cancer and some of the other issues that we really don't have answers for either. We saw an average drop in the PSA, which is a blood marker for prostate cancer for the men, 30 points, 3 weeks. I'm going to repeat that. Some of the men with prostate cancer came into the clinic, we saw an average of 30-point drop in the PSA, the blood marker for prostate cancer, in as little as 3 weeks when this was added. Now, I know this may sound mind-boggling, and for a lot of you listening to this, it blew me away. I had a problem with this for several months until I started seeing some of these cases for myself. And so what we're saying to you is, you don't have to believe me, you don't have to take everything I'm saying to heart. When you start to see what we're seeing on this scale on a day-to-day basis in the clinic, then you too will have an increased belief level. And we're hoping that when you hear the message, that you would at least put your antennae up and be more willing to be a part of this revolution. Wellness. And that's what's exciting us. We're seeing drops in the PSA, the prostatic specific antigen. That's what it's known as, PSA for abbreviation. The average 30-point drop, and most patients, not all, but most, by about 3 weeks. Some people took a little bit longer than that. Some people, it even occurred faster than that. But that excited us. We didn't expect that. That's huge. Guess what? Close to 33,000 men die in this country every year with prostate cancer in spite of everything we do and know currently. 33,000. 185,000 men are diagnosed with this disease every year in the United States. And out of that group, as I said before, 33,000 die. Can we afford to frown at anything that can come in and help us when we're facing those types of numbers? No, we cannot. So I just want to implore you to see what we're up against and to understand what we're up against in the arena. Doctors like myself, that's the challenges that we face. And that's why we want to get you guys involved in helping us to take the burden off the healthcare system. The healthcare system in America is overburdened, as you all know. We're bursting at the seams. We don't have answers. It's very expensive. Heart attack and stroke, very impressive with the Mangosteen. $351 billion it costs the US government every year, just heart attack and stroke alone. $351 billion. 1/6 of just about every American, 1 in 6, will suffer from a chronic pain problem in this country. Can we afford to frown at anything that can help us in this arena? No. Amazing. 1 in 9 women will suffer from breast cancer in this country every year. 1 in 9. And those numbers have been falling since I finished med school several years ago. Again, we're looking for answers in those arenas. When we look at some of the other statistics that we face, dismal, the heart attack and stroke arena is the major player. 950,000 deaths every year. That's 1 death every 33 seconds in this country. That is unacceptable in the most developed country on earth. We cannot afford to frown at anything that can help us in an area where we're losing that number of people every year, annually. That has been likened onto a jumbo jet going up into the air every day and crashing for the entire year. 295 people on board every day. That's what's happening in wellness. That's what we're losing in the heart attack and stroke arena every year. And yet there's nothing. No one says a word. Had that been any other issue, we'd be in Congress and we'd be having congressional hearings and we'd be demanding changes in health and wellness. Yet we're losing those types of numbers every year, and quietly under the radar, no one seems to care. We cannot afford to be blind to what is facing the country where health and wellness is concerned, and we see companies like this as being major and key players in helping this country to take some of that burden off of the healthcare system. We're looking for answers. The politicians are scratching their heads on Capitol Hill in an attempt to search for answers, and we see something. Thank God for the companies and the supplement companies that have now, thanks to certain bills being passed, have a right now to offer us these abilities. So don't take it for granted. That's my point. People have fought for this. We have senators fighting for these types of companies on the Hill and laying their necks down in the DSHEA Act to make sure that you have the right to take supplements that can help you and to help you in areas where the government or the hospital and the health arenas may not be exactly strong. Take advantage of this. Seize these opportunities. And I'm really proud to see that we now have these types of companies playing a major role in shifting America to wellness and prevention. I really think this company is going to be a key player in that wave as we continue to move forward. What we see with minerals, when you add minerals to what we're seeing with what I just told you in the clinic, can you imagine what a home run that is? In other words, chronic illness, the neurodegenerative diseases I mentioned, some of the challenges that we face in those areas, when you add the mineral deficiency challenges that we currently face to that problem, and when you see a company like this that has now put minerals into their supplement on top of the mangosteen, just imagine the implications and the effects widespread as to what is possible when that marriage takes place. And that's why I'm excited about this particular company, because it's the first to do that. Mineral deficiency is a major challenge in this country, as you know. Lots of the population, thanks to the Industrial Revolution, the depletion of soils, and all the other soil erosion and all the other problems that we face, we're eating fruits and vegetables from sources and soil areas that have been depleted, and therefore they don't carry the nutrient content and the mineral content that they should carry because the soils themselves are depleted. This is a challenge. So it's not that you're not eating it, it's not that you're not going to the grocery store and buying the stuff and consuming it. We've seen a trend and a shift in that area, but the stuff itself, the food source, is lacking, thanks to developments and the erosion and all the other things that have affected us in the environment. So the environment is now wreaking havoc on us, thanks to our own exploitation of it for the last 50 or 60 years. So again, we must put them into the diet because you cannot get these things from the food sources. It's just not in them. And when you add that to those who don't even eat correctly, which is a large number of the population, lots of us are getting by on fast food in an attempt to cope with our hectic daily lives. Children are growing up on these foods. And this is not healthy. This is a major challenge that we face in the health arena. And we want to get the kids and the young ones to understand these challenges that we now face and get them supplementing, get them listening to this message. This is a message for everyone, old, young, and in between. Every sector of the population should be looking at mangosteen and minerals. And anything else for that matter that can help them in wellness. Because again, these sections of the population tend to be depleted because of unique biological challenges that they face at those age groups. The elderly have poor immune systems, they're over 40, their immunity is dropping. The young don't have an immune system yet, it's still developing, and they have their own unique challenges. Pregnant women should be looking at this. You have a baby on board, you have the demands of a mother, plus the child that's on board, they should be supplementing. We encourage the pregnant women to get on these mangosteen and minerals as well. You have to provide for yourself, they become depleted, and then you have nothing left over for the baby. There's no one really. Athletes, top-level athletes should be looking at this also. Top level. It doesn't matter what your fitness level is. Antioxidants come in and mop up free radicals. We know that when we exercise, we generate free radicals. So just by being in the gym, just by being an athlete and training, you're developing and causing a creation of free radicals that are damaging cells, 10,000 hits per day, every day in your body. People that you offer them a supplement, they say, oh, I don't need that, I'm healthy. They don't understand this particular medical phenomenon, that at the subcellular level, even at the fittest levels, when you train, you generate free radicals and they damage tissue. This is a huge area. Antioxidant thing is a big thing. We have found no other antioxidant that can match mangosteen where this is concerned, especially alpha and gamma mangosteen together. Both of them have been very powerful in this arena. Alpha mangosteen is the most potent antioxidant that we've seen, according to Tufts University and some of the other top centers that are now studying this. Top billing. It left everything else in the dust. Just about every antioxidant you can think of. Green tea, all these other things we like. Aloe vera and some of the other things. When you add those things into a supplement, can you imagine when you marry the mangosteen with aloe, all in one prep, and you have minerals in there? That is huge, folks. And you have that. That's what you have to offer. So we've really seen something phenomenal. We're seeing something that can help in this arena. We want to get you to understand the power of antioxidants. They can slow the aging process and therefore prevent diseases upstream by protecting that DNA. And that's what this is all about. DNA is huge. The human body is run on that program. I saw a lady recently on a TV show that cloned her cat. She had a cat. She spent $5,000 to get a clone on the cat. You could have got a whole litter for that. Basically, she fell in love with the cat and decided that when it was time for the cat to pass, she would go down to the lab, spend the $5,000, and get back an exact replication of that cat. And she did that. This is an exciting time to be alive, folks. Imagine when we can do that with you. That's thrilling. It just shows you the power of science and where we are in medicine. It's exciting. This is an exciting time to be alive. Really is, when you think about it. The internet and all the things that are possible. We see information floating in from China, Japan, Korea on the mangosteen. And we don't know this plant. It doesn't grow here. Our climates don't allow it. The soils don't allow it. So people are saying, well, how come if it's so wonderful, how come we didn't hear about it? That's why. It doesn't grow here in the United States. This plant is unique to the Southeast Asian basin, and we're learning everything from them. Our centers are now on top of it. Tufts, Hopkins, and all the others are looking at it now, but we're late to the party. And we don't want you to be late to the party. We are late to the party. We are 400 years late to this party, and we want to get more Americans on board with this party and get them to join us as we seek to reach out to people through this message. Okay? What we see with this thing is exciting. Those areas I touched on were some of the things that impressed me, and by no ways limited to that. I don't want to get too deep into the medical aspects of it, other than to say to you that we've seen a wide array of diseases respond to it in a very short period of time. And these are, like I said before, some of these patients were chronic patients that tried everything by the book and by normal Western standards and were not getting results, that are now happy and smiling thanks to this wonderful, simple fruit that floated into their backyards through this opportunity. It's powerful. It's a powerful thing. Weight loss. We saw a very large number of patients losing weight in a very controlled fashion once they were using this over about a 2 to 3 week span. Again, and you look in the Oprah magazine, that issue, you will see that it's very well touted there. Full page. And like I said, I know her outlook on health and wellness. I'm really, really impressed. And she's continued to show it by putting these things in her book. She's very much into diet, weight watching, and all these types of issues. And we wish more Americans would take that type of active role, just like the Hollywood stars. They're almost, the industry depends on it. We see them leading the way in wellness. They have dietitians. They spend big money on what they eat. They're watching meticulously what they do so that they can have longer careers and look young, take antioxidants. We know these things slow aging. This is a fact. This is not hearsay. Aging studies and aging centers exist. We're now studying aging. Aging begins at 23. Some of you don't know that. So your little kid that's 23 that thinks he's not aging, I have news for him. He's old. 23, you're done. All aging begins at 23. Your cells are going in reverse. Your DNA is in reverse. You are old at 23. And if you're 60, you really need to be looking at Melrose and Mangosteen. Okay, and everybody in between. Because aging begins at 23. We know the immune system drops off at 30. I'm giving you some medical backgrounds and reasons and rationales as to why you should look at supplements. After 40, the immune system drops off significantly. That's why cancers creep in at this age. It's not a random statistic. As you know, the immune system what we call surveillance. It keeps diseases and microbes out. Once you lose that function after 40, microbes and bacteria can get in and have a field day. So can cancer cells and mutations to DNA and all those other types of challenges. And that is why we see more cancers at that age. There's a reason for that, because the immune system is compromised at this point. Once we can get the population in supplementation mode and ahead of the 8 ball, on the front of the 8 ball as opposed to the back, we can slow down those processes, if not prevent them, if we get you on it quick enough. And that is why we want the young on this right away. We don't want to wait until they have problems like we've seen with the last generation, where the baby boomers are looking at mommy and daddy and seeing them fall down with a heart attack and stroke at 40 and 50, and they are swearing that they don't want to end up like that. And folks, that is going to drive health and wellness to $1 trillion business by the year 2010, according to Paul Zane Pills and others. Those baby boomers have seen mommy and daddy die, they've seen what they're going through, and they have sworn not to end up like this at that age, and that is driving them to search for products like you have, so that they can remain young, feel good, look good, and do everything possible so that when they hit those age markers, they have the body of a 40-year-old at 60. And that's possible in our lifetime. Thanks to the introduction of fruits like this from the East and all the other things that are now on the market, and with all the medical breakthroughs that are coming and are going to come in your lifetime, this is going to be possible. And we need to remove the blinders. We need to take the blinders off and see that we're in this period and embrace it. Because otherwise, we're going to be stuck in the mindset of the 50s, and we're going to walk around thinking that because I don't know about it and because I didn't see it, it's not true. And miss the boat. And miss something major where health is concerned. And folks, with what it's costing us and with the price that we're paying ultimately, we are paying the ultimate price for our ignorance here in the country, and indeed worldwide. This is a worldwide goal. The World Health Organization is seeking now to make health and wellness its #1 issue. And as you all know, this is a major challenge. When you look at the World Health listing of the top 2 or 3 priorities that face the country, health and wellness is one of those, right up probably the most important of all of the lists. The second one was infectious disease, infection. Here's an excellent thing to add if you have an infection. This is another area that is highly touted in the research. When you look it up on PubMed, large numbers of papers on infection and what this mangosteen is able to do in the petri dish in vitro studies when introduced to bacterial, fungal, and viral cultures. Very impressive. The kill rate on this beat out some of the top pharmaceutical drugs in these areas. And repeat that. It beat out some of the top pharmaceutical drugs designed to kill microbes, bacteria, fungi, viruses in the petri dish and in vitro studies on the National Library in the country and on Medline for doctors to read. That's impressive. It was knowledge for me. It was an education for me. And we hope that this message is an education for all who are listening to it today. It's real. In other words, what we mean is that we put serious bacteria from different sources in the petri dish. We then put the mangosteen on that dish and observe the cultures to see if it would kill them. And believe it or not, it wiped out just about every colony that they introduced it to, with the exception of 2 strains of E. coli and Pseudomonas. Folks, that's impressive. A natural fruit doing that. That is huge. I just want to point that out. So when you're taking this, this is prevention. Bacteria that you may pick up from food or when you travel, traveler's diarrhea, challenge, and you take this thing with you when you travel. Wherever you go, once it gets into the bloodstream, we can slow down those processes, knock out those bacteria and viruses before they take a strong hold in your system. That's exciting. That is huge. It's in liquid form. It can't hide. Wherever that bacteria is going to get into the bloodstream, it's going to find it and deal with it. That is why we're seeing the types of turnarounds we're seeing in the clinic. And that, folks, is exciting. Very exciting. I can't put a price tag on that. Because as you all know, according to the World Health Organization, infection is a major, major challenge facing the world. Superbug infection, meaning bugs we don't have answers for. The strongest of antibiotics in the hospital, we don't have an answer. So when you come into the hospital, we hit you with vancomycin and some of the other top drugs, and if that doesn't help you, there's nothing else we can offer you. These individuals are the individuals now that are seeking mangosteen and other things like this that have been shown to help us fight off some of these superbug infections that we just don't have answers for with the strongest of antibiotics that are currently made and designed specifically for them. Think about that. TB, another example, it impressed me. TB. This plant was long used for TB. We saw that they could use it single-handedly to kill tuberculosis, the mycobacterium that causes TB, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Very hard to kill. It's an acid-fast bacterium, very difficult to kill. We hit that currently with 4 drugs simultaneously in this country, if you have tuberculosis, and you take that for 6 months. It's expensive. 4 drugs in tandem for 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, there's no guarantee that you will be rid of TB. That's how hard the organism is to kill because of the new resistant strains that exist. And here's a natural substance that is single-handedly killing TB in the petri dish by itself. Now, I don't know about you, but if it could even kill 1 cell, I would be drinking the heck out of it. 1, because we don't have an answer, and people are dying. And that's what I'm trying to say. This is not funny if you understand what I'm saying. When we can't find a pill designed to handle TB, and you take that for 6 months, pay big money, and still have it, and something natural is coming in, has been doing this for 400 plus years, we need to look at that. We need to really seriously look at it, and that's why we're fired up, and that's why we're so passionate about this message, because we know a lot of people out there are not aware of these things. They don't know this. If they knew, they'd be drinking it. Okay? And they wouldn't be telling you when you bring it to them, oh, I don't need that, I'm healthy, I'm okay, I'm fine. That is the problem with America. We cannot reach the mental state of consciousness to wake people up to see it. A lot of people don't want to see it. And we're hoping that today, whoever put you in front of this message is going to help you to see it, and therefore help all of your circle, because some of you know somebody that only you can touch. And everybody in this room is important and very, very, very critical in the outreach to other human beings. What we all share in common is the human condition. I think that's one area we all, in spite of our differences, our appearances, and all the other things that make us different and unique, what we all share in common is the human experience and the ability to reach out and touch another human being. And I think that is what wellness is all about, and that's why I'm so excited about what they're doing here with this wonderful botanical as we seek to touch individuals in the health arena and to really make a difference in the lives of individuals who are seeking for answers in health and who have not necessarily met that answer through the traditional Western model. This is an excellent thing. I thank God every day for the DSHEA Act and what has allowed for companies to come out like this and produce supplements that are filling in the gaps in the areas where the health field is weak. That's what I look at when I see supplementation. That's what I look at when I see companies like this. These are the companies, thanks to that act, that are allowing those areas where we're weak to be filled in because companies have a financial and monetary gain to profit when they offer a solution to challenges that people cannot get in the health arena. That's what this is all about. And you're a part of that. And we should be proud of that. And we're really excited about taking the wellness by the helm in the year 2010. We think that this company will be one of the leading companies in that as we seek to take health and wellness to the population at large and gather more people on this vein as we look at health through this perspective. Really excited. In closing, 2 things really impressed me. One thing that I think we need to get over is fear. Fear of losing our jobs, fear of changing from a 9 to 5, fear of getting up every day, fear of depression, fear of whatever it is for you that keeps you stuck and refusing to move forward in your life. Opportunities like these come, and they're very special, and a lot of us miss those opportunities because we fail to recognize them. And we want to point out that a lot of us live now in a climate of fear, and that's why we don't step outside of our comfort zone. And I think this message is also a message of not just waking up and joining the wellness revolution, but a wellness revolution that is here that can help you to get out of that paralysis and that fear of doing only one thing. We want to open your mind up to try something new. For those of you that have looked at this and are entrepreneurially minded, you can tap into that and step outside of your boundaries and try something different. Don't be afraid. Don't live in that fear zone. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try something else. Don't be afraid to become a part of the wellness revolution and remain in that rut that you've been in for the last 40, 50 years. That's huge. It's all about truth and facing truth. A lot of people don't like to hear it. They don't want to face it. But that's the era in which we live. And a lot of people need to be willing to step outside of that fear and face their fears. And that's what we're hoping for those of you that may have been facing challenges like that don't see a way out. Many people have given up. They don't see a way out. It reminds me of a story of a gentleman that went into a freezer, and a big freezer, one of these big companies, walked into the freezer, the door closes, the guy freezes, just assumes that he's locked in and he can't get out, and they find him in the fridge, frozen, 2 days later, only to find out that the door was open. He just didn't even bother to try. He was so afraid he just gave up. He never knocked, he never pushed. Had he just pushed the door, he'd have come right out of that freezer. Many of you today are living like that. The opportunity is there, the fruit is in front of you, everything is there for you, and you refuse to make an attempt to push the door open. And that's what I mean by paradigm shift. We need to wake up the consciousness of America. We need to wake up the consciousness of this country and to get people to see that they're in that freezer and that door is open. If they would only push it, they can have better health. I think that's a powerful analogy. It really shows you how your frame of mind can affect an outcome that could be life-changing. And I see health and wellness as just that. And for many of us who don't realize it, maybe now, maybe a few years from now, you will start to see that this is indeed the case. And we want you to be a part of that. And whatever else you missed, if you missed the .bomb, you missed the .com, you missed the whatever you missed, don't miss the Mangosteen revolution and wellness revolution that's coming. It's perhaps the greatest thing that's ever going to hit this country where opportunity and business and health is concerned. What a marriage, health along with wealth. I can think of no better gift to offer somebody than this message here today that you're getting. That is a powerful combination, because what good is money if you don't have the health to enjoy it? What good is it? It's all about priorities and value setting, and that's why I wanted to point that out. That's what the message is all about, and waking people's consciousness up to accept things in different forms, from different cultures, from different countries that may not be growing in our own backyard, that we don't necessarily have the research for here in America. I'm happy to read research from anywhere on something as long as it's legitimate. And I can assure you the research on this exists. And for those of you that want to really read the details and the fine print, PubMed, I mentioned it before, Medline, all the top centers and sources where doctors read upgoing and journal data information from all around the world, so there's no bias. No one's pulling a blindfold on you on this one. This is legit. And that's why I'm excited. I wouldn't even put my name with it, I wouldn't associate it with it if I didn't think it was. And I think more doctors and health practitioners and people in the health arena need to join us in these areas, because we know the reality. We know we don't have the answers. And we know that in many areas, much as we hate to admit it, we don't have the solutions in the most developed country on earth. I'm Dr. Edwards. It's a pleasure sharing this information, and I'm really thrilled to be here today with you and to share the wonders and the story of the mangosteen and minerals in this hemisphere of the world. Thank you very much.